I'm Verla Simmons, and we started this church in 1963. Well, what really stood out to us, it was a very spiritual church, and wonderful services. I mean, Brother Rome was, he was just great, so yeah, and it was a great place to bring your family, and well, all of our girls, we have 3 girls, they were all baptized and got the Holy Ghost, and all 3 had miracle healings. And when Brother Rome prayed for them, and our 3 girls were married here and at the church, and 5 of my 9 grandchildren were dedicated in this church: Janine, Janice, and Geraldine. Well, my husband was a song leader. He was Sunday school teacher, and let's see. Well, he played the guitar, his music in the band. And then I was the ladies' auxiliary leader. And so with all of that, we raised a lot of money for the payment on this church. For this church, we raised quite a bit of money because we would have all of our stuff, and then we would go to these bazaars and have our things that we'd made, and then we'd sell that, and we made a lot of money. And then we sold, and we made a lot of peanut brittle and sold that. And it was, I said, I wish I would have known how much money we really did raise, because it was a lot, it was the ladies, but I was that leader for several years, And then Charles was, he come and built this church, helped build this church, was a big, part of it, Well, it was our foundation for our family, and it's kept us all these years, and good teaching that we had kept us grounded all these years. I see a definite spiritual growth here. Since I haven't been here for several years, but it's really heartwarming to see the growth that's here and what's going on, But we had friends, Orville and Pauline Rubel, and they are the ones that found this property. And so they found it, and they gave, come and told Brother Rome about it, and they went and bought it immediately. And that's why, that's how that's here, Oh, it was great. In fact, it was really good, because Janice and Margie McGarvey were the first people that got baptized here. And Brother Rome baptized Janice, and Brother McGarvey baptized Margie. They had the basement finished that we could have church here. So we had church for, I don't remember how long. It was quite a while, I guess, because all that big beams and all that stuff you see out there, that was a big deal to get all of that built. And
first service that we had that we could baptize people was the service, it was September 25th, 1968, and that's when we were baptized.
Okay.
Service. So that was the very first service that we had in this auditorium. It's the very first baptismal. The baptistry was ready and stuff.
So that would be 3 years. Well, it's hard to explain, but it was just, it was a wonderful experience. To know that, Janice was one of the first to be baptized here. And like when we were in the basement, I don't remember, that's why we had to wait on baptism, because we didn't have a tank then. And so that people were waiting, but it happened that Janice and Margie was the first ones, and that was, it was wonderful, Our theme back then was miracles, and miracles continue to happen. Because I think our thing was, it took a miracle. That was what Brother Rome always mentioned, it took a miracle. Yeah. The girls all have had major healings here. And my oldest daughter, Janine, was 8 years old, and she had acute appendicitis. And so I finally, after a week or so, we took her to the doctor because she was not getting any better, really sick. And so when we took her to the doctor, he said she has acute appendicitis and you have 30 minutes to get her to the hospital. So we took off and went there, and she said, Mom, on the way, she said, call Brother Rome. If he prays, I'll be healed. You know. So we got there at St. Joseph's, and so anyway, he was waiting on us, and she was in a wheelchair there, and so he prayed. And so then they took her on up to her room, and so I told her if she would, you know, be brave and stay. And she was scared of the nuns, you know, but she said, I said, if you will, I'll buy you a Barbie. And the night she got to feeling better, and she said she could only have Jell-O. And she said to the nurse, she said, I'm feeling better. She said, so and so then the next morning when the doctor came in, she said, I'd like for you to check me again because I'm really feeling well. And he checked her, and he couldn't find any sign of it. So then Janice, she had what they call glomerulonephritis, which is Bright's disease, and there's no cure for that. She was 7 years old and then second grade, and so they said she had to have complete bed rest. She couldn't go to school, she couldn't do anything but go from the bed to the bathroom. And to eat. So anyway, she just laid like lifeless because she wanted to sleep all the time. So one night we were here in church. So anyway, one night we were sitting about the third pew back on the, it'd be the right side there. And so Brother Rome called her. He said, I would like for Janice Simmons to come up and I want to pray for her. Well, she was asleep on my lap, you know, had her head. So she went up. And so when she come back, I was crying, you know, and everything. So she said, Mom, why are you, I was patting her. She said, why are you crying? I'm healed. And so anyway, I said, I was patting her. I was so glad, but, my faith was weak. So anyway, when we walked out of church that night, we met two gentlemen, and they said she was healed tonight. And then on Geraldine, she was 2, I think, and so they were doing the upstairs balcony. And so they had paint bucket, and it was empty. It was a big 5-gallon paint bucket. But they had laid the lid on the floor, and it was scalloped around, metal scalloped. And so she fell on that floor, on that lid, and slit her eye, and blood was just gushing out. Well, she needed stitches. So anyway, Brother Rome come up, and he prayed for her, and immediately it stopped, and there was no sign of it. That was, so you see why we're connected here. It was great. It is, it's the greatest church I've ever been to, so.